two, one.
The Fantasy Football Happy Hour is back for season 2, and it feels so good. The best news for you is Ricky and I will be back on Sunday mornings giving you our games of the week, our sit starts, and all of our betting advice leading you up into game day. And that will kick off on Labor Day weekend when we will do our over-unders and our fearless playoff predictions. Until then, I am doing some short videos looking at each division in the NFL, preparing for the 2023 season, and we are up to a barn burner in the NFC South. We start where we left off at the top, which was the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They finished 8-9, but that was good enough to be first in the NFC South. They lost to the Dallas Cowboys in the wild card, and that officially ended Tom Brady's career for the second time and probably the final time. They limped into the playoffs, but, it wasn't a great season for the Bucs. They had problems on the offensive line. They struggled to run the ball. Now Brady is gone and Baker Mayfield is in. He was newly minted as the starter after a preseason battle with Kyle Trask. There are no winners here. The Buccaneers have some good roster pieces. I like Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. I really like second-year tight end Cade Otton, second-year running back Rachaad White could be interesting. They added Chase Edmonds, who could be a receiving threat out of the backfield, but Leonard Fournette, the pounder, is gone. They still have questions along the offensive line. Russell Gage, who was a little bit of insurance as a wide receiver 3, is now out for the year already as well. Can Trey Palmer add a lot as a rookie wide receiver? We'll see. A lot of the questions are going to come down to Baker Mayfield and which Baker Mayfield we see. The Buccaneers only won 8 games last year. I think 6 to 8 wins probably makes sense. I have to tell you, I don't think this is going to be a great division in total. The Carolina Panthers actually technically finished second, although all 3 of the remaining teams finished 7-10 last year. The Panthers started out really bad, so bad you might not realize that they finished as the second-place team in the division. Frank Reich is now their head coach. Matt Rule is gone. They made a trade to get the number 1 overall pick and took Bryce Young, who will be their new franchise quarterback. Speaking of offensive line issues, that has been a question that has plagued them throughout the preseason, will likely plague them going into the regular season as well. They went and got some veteran help. They picked up Miles Sanders from the Eagles to be their number 1 running back. I really like him a lot. He might be the fantasy player I'm zeroing in on this season for this team. They got some wide receivers. They picked up veteran DJ Chark and Adam Thielen. They drafted Jonathan Mingo. They still have Terrace Marshall III. They still have Laviska Shenault. They still have Shi Smith. I don't know how much I believe in any of them. Mingo is probably the one I'm most interested in for dynasty purposes. Veteran tight end Hayden Hurst might be the most reliable week-to-week asset in the passing game. I like Bryce Young for dynasty. I think there are going to be some ups and downs this year. I think the Panthers are probably in that 6 to 8 win range too. They could be frisky and fun at times, but this could be a long season of growing pains. Next up is the New Orleans Saints. They were also 7-10, technically 3rd in the NFC South last year. They went and made a move to grab veteran quarterback Derek Carr. They also grabbed Jamal Williams in the backfield and drafted Kendre Miller, although he's already a little bit banged up. Kamara has a 3-game suspension to start the season. Could have been longer, could have been worse, but they will miss him. I think they'll lean on Jamal Williams during that time. I still think Alvin Kamara will finish as the best of the running backs in this backfield. I don't know how much of a value he really is. The value I like the most is tight end Juwan Johnson, who they kind of re-upped with a longer-term deal. I think he's going still a little under the radar. I like him as a low-end tight end 1. Chris Olave, I think, is going to be the star at wide receiver, was last year as a rookie. Hopefully he can take another step forward. The big question is, what is their depth on wide receiver? They're banking a lot on Michael Thomas being able to finally come back healthy. As somebody that's been holding a ton of shares of him in Dynasty, I would love to see it, but I will wait until I actually see it before I think I will believe it. What can Derek Carr do? What can this Saints team do? I think they have a really wide range of wins. I could see them winning 8 or 9 games and making a push for the playoffs. I could also see them bottoming out and winning 5 or 6 games and being the worst in the division. I'm leaning more toward them not having a great season. And I think that'll put a lot of questions into play when it comes to head coach Dennis Allen, but we shall see. Finally, the Atlanta Falcons were also 7-10, but technically the fourth team in the NFC South last year. The Falcons started a little bit strong, but faded down the stretch. The team went and added Bijan Robinson in the backfield. They have a trio of first-round picks all around the offense with Bijan at running back, Drake London, who they grabbed last year at wide receiver, and Kyle Pitts at tight end. That's a lot of offensive firepower, but they're relying on Desmond Ridder, a third-round pick a year ago, to kind of take over at quarterback. They also added Taylor Heineke, but we've seen he's more of a career backup type. Can Ridder thrive with this offense? That is going to be the big question for how far the Falcons can go. I love second-year running back Tyler Algier. They still have Cordero Patterson. I like the pickup of veteran wide receiver Mac Hollins. They have some pieces in place. With Robinson, London, and Pitts, they could make a move. They grab some pieces on defense to play better. How can the Falcons do? They're another team that has a wide range of outcomes. If Ridder completely flops, they could be a 5 or a 6-win team at the bottom of the division. But you know what? I actually kind of like the Falcons. I like Ridder's upside. I like the pieces they have in place. I think the Falcons can win 9 games and actually win this division. I think it's only going to take 8 or 9 wins to come out of this division. I think all the teams will be middling here like they were last year, but the Falcons are the one that I'm betting on right now. I guess we'll see how that pans out for me come December and January, but right now that's where I'm at. So that's my take on the NFC South. If you have thoughts about the teams, please leave them in the comments. If you want to read more about my thoughts on each team, I have been previewing each team by team every day throughout the month of August, and that continues currently up to the AFC East, which is the team which is the division I will be previewing next. Until then, have a wonderful day.